Hi everyone, welcome to your first day of distance learning. I would just like to go over, I'm going to clean this screen for a second. I'd just like to go over a few things that we talked about last time we saw each other in class. And hopefully I can clear it up for you so you can be successful on the work that is assigned today. So if you remember the last time we saw each other, we were starting to do Vertex form of quadratics. So this right here that I have graphed is a quadratic. Okay, I'm going to zoom in so you're just focusing on this one. There are several different key features I can discuss about this that are going to help you with the activity today. So first, this pink line, if you recall this is our axis of symmetry. So if I wanted to name the AOS, which is axis of symmetry, I would just look at what the x value is of this line. So the x value here is 3. So my axis symmetry is x equals 3. That's one thing I can determine from looking at this. I can also determine my vertex. Okay, my vertex is the middle point. So that middle point is 3, 4. 3 is the x, 4 is the y. That point to the vertex also tells me my maximum or my minimum. Now, the max or the min is the y value. So first of all, do I have a max or a min is the main question. I have a maximum because it's at the top. If I had a minimum, it would be, let me grab a piece of paper for you. If I had a minimum, the parabola would be facing this way. Okay, so minimum's at the bottom, maximum is at the top. Okay, so this one's facing down, so that means I have a maximum. And if I want to name my maximum, it's a y value. What is that y value on that vertex? It is 4. So your max is 4. Okay, that's another thing I can determine from this picture. Something else I can determine from the picture is my zeros, which are also called roots. They're also called solutions. And lastly, they're also called x-intercepts. What are my roots, zeros, solutions, x-intercepts? Those are wherever my graph crosses the x-axis. This is my x-axis. It crosses it in 2 places at x equals 1 and x equals 5. Those are 2 more things you can determine from this picture. The other thing you could determine from this picture usually is the y-intercept, wherever it crosses the y-axis. However, in this picture, my graph doesn't keep going to hit the y-axis, but if I force it to keep going, it looks like it would cross at about -4. So I would say my y-intercept equals 0, -4. Remember that a y-intercept should be written as a point, x comma y. Okay, so that I just wanted to go a little bit over looking at a graph. Okay, now another thing we can do is we can name the equation from looking at this. So the vertex form of an equation is a times x minus h squared plus k. So remember that this a, okay, is something we can't determine from looking at this graph. However, we can take a point, xy, okay? We can do hk, which is our vertex. So on a separate piece of paper, I am going to run through the motions of how we would write the equation of this. Okay, so on my separate piece of paper here, you told me that the hk, which is our vertex, you told me that that was 3, 4. Okay. Now I can also pick for my xy, I could pick any point off of this graph, any point that I like. So I'm going to look here and I'll choose this one, 2, 3. There is a dot on 2, 3. So I'm going to choose point 2, 3. Okay. And now I can use these points to solve for a, because that's the only thing I'm missing here. So in the equation, y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. The only thing I don't know is my a. So I've said now that I have an xy, so x is 2, y is 3. I have an hk, h is 3, k is 4. So I'm going to go ahead and plug all of these in. For y, I'm plugging in a 3. I don't know my a. For x, I'm plugging in a 2. For h, I'm plugging in a 3. And for k, I'm plugging in a 4. Now I need to solve this equation. Okay? 2 minus 3, that gives me -1. Always do our parentheses first. Order of operations, PEMDAS. Okay? -1 squared, exponents is my next thing. -1 squared, that gives me +1. If you square negative, we get a positive. If I write this a little nicer, I have 1a plus 4. So now I don't have multiplication or division to do, so I'm going to subtract this 4 from both sides. I get -1 equals a. If you had 1a, that's fine. A and 1a are the same thing. So you've now found that your a is -1. That makes sense, and you should know this, that when a is negative, we have a facing down parabola. When a is positive, it faces up. So that's just a reminder. Okay, just a reminder of that. So now we know that a is -1. So if I look at this equation, this is the basic equation of a parabola. Okay, you've now determined, and remember, in a basic equation, we want to keep our x and y. The rest we can fill in. We've decided that a is -1. We know that h, and this negative is in the equation. Now I plug in my h. My h is 3. And my k is 4. Now we have an equation for the graph from the beginning. So this graph, this is the equation to that graph. You see my vertex 3, 4. Negative makes it face down. Okay. And from here, I could find my y-intercept if I plugged in a 0 as well. Okay, so that was just a little review of the last day I saw you guys in class. Hopefully this helps you to do your assignment for today. I just want to go over one more quick problem of how I might go ahead and graph given an equation with no graph. So kind of working the opposite direction here. If they gave me an equation like this, I could get my vertex from it. This is my h and my k. I have to remember, you have to switch the sign of h. So this would be a -2. And my k would be 4. That also means whatever the x value of your vertex is also your axis of symmetry. Okay, so x is -2. So at -2, I can go ahead and make that dotted line for my axis of symmetry. I can also go ahead and plot my vertex, -2, 4. From here, I have to figure out another point on the graph before I can do anything else. I have to figure out, is there another point I know? We always told you guys in class to pick a number, pick an x value that's either to the left or the right of this axis of symmetry. I'm going to go to the right and use -1 because -1 is an easy number to work with. So now I'm going to plug in -1 into this equation. So my equation looks like this. I'm going to plug in a -1 here for x. So I have -3. -1 plus 2 gives me +1. And then 1 squared gives me a +1. Forgetting my y equals over here. -3 times 1 is -3. Plus 4 is 1. So I've just found that when x equals -1, y should equal +1. That's a point, -1, +1. So I just found a point on my graph. When I plugged in x is -1, I got back y is +1. Okay, I can go ahead and plot that, -1, +1. And now here's where that mirror image comes in. Because I know 2 points, I can easily plot a third point because this is your axis symmetry. Whatever's on this side should be symmetric on the other side. So if I have a point 1 space away here, I should have a point 1 space away in the other direction. Now this allows me to make my graph. And it should not look like a V. It should be arced a little bit. Okay. All right. Hopefully this helped. If you have any questions, I will be available for video chat tomorrow. I also have office hours 11 to 12 where I am totally at your service. All right. Have a great day.